Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. Liverpool dropped 2 points today after drawing against Everton in the Merseyside Derby in what was generally just a really disappointing result. And for me, it just comes down to the fact that there were a few key moments in the game where key decisions needed to be made and Liverpool quite simply got them wrong. You know, for starters, I'll get out the way that there were some people criticising Jurgen Klopp for his rotation during the game. I know there weren't many. You know, I think it's been slightly blown out of proportion, the fan reaction to that and to that sort of effect on how the game went. Personally, you know, I think that Liverpool simply can't have played full strength 11s for the game against Spartak and the Merseyside Derby as well. They simply had to make changes going into this game. As much as I wanted to see the Fab Four start, and you know, you could have potentially done that and then done a little bit of rotation with the midfield or something like that, I still think that something needed to be shifted around because otherwise Liverpool risk burning out later on in the season. So fair enough with that. I don't actually put too much blame on Jurgen Klopp for this result because I think the main problems were what actually happened on the field and were things that Jurgen Klopp simply didn't have any influence on. And the obvious incident which really changed the game and led to Liverpool dropping those 2 points was the penalty, the one that Dejan Lovren conceded. And for me, there's joint culpability with Dejan Lovren and the referee here because, first of all, it's a dive. Calvert-Lewin throws himself to the floor. There is no way Lovren puts enough force on him to actually send him to the ground. But Lovren gives the referee a decision to make at the end of the day. He just should not be putting his hands up on Calvert-Lewin's back in that kind of situation. You know, it doesn't help him in any way. It's not going to help him get the ball. It's not going to help him stop a goal-scoring chance. It simply gives the referee a decision to make and puts him in a compromising position. He doesn't have to do it. Calvert-Lewin's not actually threatening that much. He's not that close to goal. He's actually running in a difficult direction for him to actually score. All Lovren has to do is carefully screen the ball and stop Calvert-Lewin from cutting inside at any point. But it doesn't seem to be capable of doing it. He puts his hand up. It's silly. It doesn't help him. And it's almost inexplicable that a player of that kind of supposed quality who's playing for Liverpool Football Club in the Merseyside Derby makes a decision like that. And then I think the referee, you know, has to take some of the blame as well. Because while Lovren makes the mistake by putting his hands up, he shouldn't do it. He shouldn't give the referee that decision to make. At the end of the day, a referee should be able to spot a dive. And even if he is quite far away from the decision, a dive is a dive. The referee is there to be able to say, even if Lovren puts his hands up, be able to just say, no, actually, that is a dive. You know, obviously Lovren puts his hands up, but not with enough force to throw Calvert-Lewin down. So neither of them come out of the situation very well. And to be honest, I really think the penalty shouldn't have been given. If I were the referee, completely unbiased in another situation, I don't think I would have given it because I'm not a fool. But hey-ho, you know, it happens. And it's really poor from Dejan Lovren. And I'm wondering whether I am finally losing my patience with him. You know, we all lost our patience with him after the game against Spurs. We were all calling for his head, saying he should never play for Liverpool again. He put in some really good performances after that, but it just seems that no matter what, there's always a mistake in Dejan Lovren, and it always seems to be happening at the worst possible times. He just seems like the kind of player who can't quite deal with the pressure of these situations. So I just don't think he is good enough to play for Liverpool. Maybe as third or fourth choice, preferably centre-back, but not playing from the start of the game in massive games like this. He's simply not good enough. And the other problem for me in this game, and this was a selection problem with Jurgen Klopp's lineup, not necessarily to do with rotation, but just to do with the lineup that he picked for this game. I don't think Henderson and Milner work as a midfield pairing at all. You know, certainly not in these games, maybe not even in games where we're looking to sit back a little bit more and soak up pressure. But against an Allardyce team, and an Allardyce team that sits back as much as Everton did today, you can't start both Henderson and Milner in midfield. You know, Henderson is a deep-lying midfielder. Milner is box-to-box at best. At worst, he's a deep-lying midfielder as well. Neither of them have any sort of creative spark, really. You know, Milner, he can do a little bit, and he showed it against Maribor away from home this season that he can do a little bit of creating, but that was against Maribor. This was against Everton. You know, no respect to Everton. They are absolutely rubbish, but they're maybe a little bit better than Maribor, potentially. That's up for argument, let's be honest. But Milner and Henderson just do not work as a midfield duo, and especially if you're not going to start the Fab Four ahead of them, if you're going to start players like Solanke and Oxlade-Chamberlain, you're going to need the creativity to come from a little bit deeper as well. You know, maybe if we had Firmino and Coutinho on the pitch, you could have Milner and Henderson sit back and rely on those four to do all the creativity, but they weren't there for this game, and it was up to Jurgen Klopp to compensate for that with his lineup. So personally, I would have preferred to see Wijnaldum in the place of either Henderson or Milner. In the long term, I'd like to see neither, really. I think Emre Can and Jorginho Wijnaldum is our best midfield partnership going forward. So fingers crossed that we see more of that. But that was really disappointing, and I think at the end of the day, that is what stopped us from really capitalising on our dominance and scoring more goals, which we really should have done. And on top of that as well, you've got the Sadio Mane incident, which is the other game-changing moment for me. You know, right at the end of the first half, Liverpool just scored, sucked all the wind out of Everton's sails, really giving them a sucker punch. We were then given the opportunity to go 2-0 up and basically put the game to bed. And Sadio Mane just... I don't know why he does it. I don't know why he shoots. I love Sadio Mane and I hate criticising him. And at the end of the day, it's not like Lovren, where I think Lovren's not good enough for Liverpool. Sadio Mane is obviously good enough for Liverpool. You know, there is no questioning or doubting that. He is absolutely a fantastic footballer. But it's just in that moment, he makes the wrong decision. And it's really disappointing because all he has to do is square it for one of, I think it might have been either Salah or Oxlade-Chamberlain or Solanke, one of those two. And if he does that, Liverpool get their second and they've basically won the game. So that was hugely disappointing to see. And it's just annoying that, you know, after a game that lasts 90 minutes, for it to come down to those two small moments in terms of the overall game, and for that to be the reason why Liverpool dropped 2 points in such a huge game is really frustrating and really irritating as a fan. But you know, it's not all doom and gloom. There's always positives to take from a football match, so I'll focus on those for a moment here. Mo Salah scores an absolutely fantastic goal, again just proving why he's so important to Liverpool in a game where we really were struggling for creativity. We weren't creating any good chances. We weren't really actually threatening Jordan Pickford's goal at any point. To have a player like Mo Salah who can just pop up out wide, cut inside, send a few players on their backsides and then score a goal like that is so important. And if it wasn't for the fact that we made mistakes later on in the game, we'd all be raving about Mo Salah now and talking about just how absolutely vital he is to this Liverpool side. So really disappointing that Mo Salah got let down there. I mean, he didn't have an amazing game overall. I think there were a lot of times when he really struggled to get involved. He was being forced out wide or not getting the ball when he was in the box, and that was quite disappointing to see. And I think one of the reasons why Liverpool didn't do that well, I think Mo Salah just wasn't getting the service that he needed. But when it came down to it, he was able to just do everything all by himself and score a fab goal. And again, just really disappointing that that did not have a bigger significance on the result. Elsewhere on the pitch, I thought Joe Gomez had an absolutely fantastic game today. You know, his technique was brilliant. He was fantastic on the ball, playing the right passes, making the right movements, making the right runs as well, and always positionally so intelligent. You know, there were times in that game where Joe Gomez looked like he could play defence by himself, to be honest. I mean, whenever an Everton player had the ball, as soon as Joe Gomez got close to him, you could just relax, safe in the knowledge that Gomez was going to get it off him because his tackling was so good as well. There was just so many things about Joe Gomez's game which were just absolutely brilliant. And I think the moment that Klein comes back and takes up that right back role at the club will be absolutely fantastic for us, because being able to deploy Joe Gomez in a centre-back role will be huge for Liverpool because he's excellent and he is just the kind of player we need. And the fact that he's been playing at right back as well, a little bit further up the pitch, means that he's improving his pace, he knows how to make runs, he's got good athleticism, which is great because obviously we play a very high defensive line, and he's also getting some good ball playing skills so he can be the kind of ball playing, passing centre-back that Liverpool will need. So that is fantastic to see. At least there are a few positives in the game, and if you're looking for just a few more, I think it's safe to say that, if anything, that game was proof that Liverpool are by far and away, without a doubt, the best team on Merseyside. I mean, I know we didn't win, and you can say, yeah, we drew, so that means both teams are equally as good. Watch the game. No, they're not. Liverpool are so far ahead of Everton, and I mean, if you want any further proof, look at the reaction of the fans. Everton are treating it like they've won the Premier League. Liverpool are treating it like they just got relegated. That just shows the gulf between fans. I mean, Phil Neville said on Twitter that Merseyside was blue. I don't know if it was a wind-up, to be honest. It's hard to tell with Phil Neville because he's hardly got two brain cells to smash together. But hey-ho, who knows? At the end of the day, Everton are a bunch of losers and Liverpool will almost definitely finish above them by the end of the season. So if you're looking for positives, there's always that to cling on to. So yeah, it was 2 points dropped. It was a disappointing result. It's incredibly frustrating, but the most important thing for Liverpool now is that they get straight back to winning ways. And it's quite good that we do have a midweek game, you know, straight after this, about 3 days after. I think it's on the Wednesday night, to get back to winning ways, you know, put this result behind us and get back into the groove that we'd built up before this game against Everton, because things were going really well. And as long as we keep winning games after this, the odd 2 points dropped here and there won't really matter too much. I mean, you look at the draw against Chelsea at the time, it felt like the sky was falling in, our heads were falling off, it was absolutely terrible. But since then, Liverpool just won game after game after game, and we've put it behind us and managed to push ourselves into a really good position in the league table. And also, if you're looking for even more positives, I know I mentioned a fair few earlier, you know, we've made up a little bit of ground on Chelsea, made up a little bit of ground on Man United, and just about stayed ahead of Arsenal. So there are a few positives there if you look hard enough. So that is all of today's video. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know we didn't enjoy the result, but you may have enjoyed my thoughts on it. If you did, give this video a like. Hit that subscribe button if you're new around here. Check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel over the past few days. Follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter, and I'll be back in a couple of days, maybe even tomorrow, with the pre-match content for the game against West Brom. Bye for now.